Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is Thursday. It is, oh no. Oh, I just looked at the date. I'm just realizing it. It's 4:20. Mr. Black. Didn't even realize it. I just realized it now. We're taking up all of Snoop's air.
I'm getting high tonight.
Taking an extra edible.
Get yourself one.
Get yourself real comfortable. Not wake up tomorrow for a bit. All right, let me get that there and this here and that down. I was just making the. It's not really a joke, but I was still joking with Mr. Black here just before we started the podcast. It's like, my God, going live on YouTube. I feel like I'm launching a rocket to fucking the moon. In comparison, there's like a whole control center, like 1,000 buttons that you're pressing. You gotta like fill in like a form like you're at the fucking DMV every time you go live. It's crazy out here. It's a wild situation. I understand why it's the way it is because it goes straight to VOD. So YouTube's forcing you to basically set the page up as if it was a VOD on its own.
Yep.
But my God, is that inconvenient? At the end of the day, the only other thing that I don't like about it either that I wish they could change, and some people were requesting this, and I didn't realize it until after we did the podcast last week. But when you go live like we're doing here on YouTube now, everyone gets the notification upon going live, but they don't when it's finished and in VOD form and then sent into the playlist or whatever. It doesn't get sent out to like everyone as a normal VOD. So either you get the notification for the stream or you don't get it. So far it hasn't impacted views more than usual. There's just been a handful of people that said they had to come looking for it where they didn't before. So hopefully, if you're listening to this now and you're a watcher on YouTube normally or whatever, that's just what you have to look out for. Is you're just going to have to look out for the notification for the stream itself and take that to know the video will be there as soon as the stream is over. Just assume that that's where it's going to be. You can go there every Thursday to the channel, and unless something has happened and you've probably followed us on Twitter or something else, you'll know if the podcast wasn't happening. Just assume that it's going to be there. With that being said, got another great show lined up for you today. Hope you guys had a nice week. We're getting springier and springier around here.
Yep.
The robins are out in full force, which can only mean one thing. The frost is out of the ground. They're eating every poor bastard worm that's come anywhere near the surface. The worms are thinking, fuck me, I can breathe, finally. Instantly friggin' eaten by a robin. And flowers are starting to slowly pop up out the ground. Green is starting to return. It's lovely. It's kind of like, when you're anyone that lives in a place that has winter, it's like you're living in a monochromatic world for like 4 months of the year, and then spring comes around and it's like turning a movie from black and white into color. It's a crazy kind of experience, and my God, does it ever make you feel a little better. It's wild how winter can make you feel the blues towards the end of it, to say the least. Mr. Black, before we get started, as always, most important question of the week. How was your week?
What did I do this week? Nothing, man. I've been just been grinding out the work, getting kind of back into the groove finally for like, I don't know, the first time in well over a year, so it feels good. Outside of that, not too much is going on. I locked up I don't know if I told you this or not, but I'm buying a 24 unit apartment building in the States. So that's
24.
Yeah, I'm buying a big building. Got a partner. Actually got two partners on this. So yeah, we're kind of creating, the company's being made now. I gotta do a bunch of accounting and lawyer shit.
International now. We gotta have some separate stuff set up.
Yeah. So yeah, that's that hasn't taken up too much of my time, but it's something that we've been working on for the last 2 months or so. But yeah, it's all firmed up now, so close next month. So yeah, that's been going on, and I've been working out again, so that's been good too. I've been working out for like 2 weeks.
Making use of that big old honking Spartan level friggin' gym equipment that you got in there.
Yeah. So that's been all right. That's been going well. And outside of that, nothing. It's been the same old, same.
Amazing.
Son is all registered for pre-primary,
Oh,
so he's going to school. Come
that's exciting
Yeah. So
and
he's doing that.
terrifying simultaneously.
I mean, I'm not terrified. It'll be an adjustment for Kayla. She's gonna go back to work, part-time somewhere. So yeah, there'll be some changes come in September. And what else is going on? I think that's pretty much about it. We're just starting to get the house ready because spring, so we're just doing the gardening, and I gotta go and buy like I don't even know how many tons of mulch, because it's been 2 years since we've done the mulch around the house, and 2 years ago it took me 10 truckloads. It's not going to be as bad this time, but yeah. So I'm gonna have to take a couple days.
This man deforesting entire fucking swaths of land just to be able to mulch the yard.
And I'm too cheap to like pay for a landscaper, so it gets me out the house. So I'm like, fuck it, I'll do it.
I mean, really.
So, yeah.
I mean, like, thankfully, the landscaping in your place isn't like overly complicated. Like, it's a lot of mulch, but it's not like a crazy over the top kind of a situation.
It's not like we got like special gardens and certain types of things. Like, yeah, there's some plants and stuff, and Kayla and my mom take care of that, but I'll do the mulch and the heavy lifting when it comes to that. And that, I think, is it. My son started swimming lessons last week, and then he starts soccer soon. I hate soccer so much. I'm trying to get him to do like t-ball or go into karate or something, but he does want to do karate, but he's already a pretty rough kid, so I don't even know if I want to like put him in fucking karate so he gets rougher. But it might teach him some discipline.
It might mellow him out. Might be the opposite, right? You might get him mellow out.
We'll see. But anyway, yeah, it's just little things around the house. Nothing, nothing crazy. Nothing crazy week.
All of them good things, so that's good. That's good. All small stuff around here as well. We've started to get it's just never ending putting stuff away now that we've got all the stuff. Pretty much all the stuff. There might be some smaller things that come through over the course of the next couple of months as we get ready to sell the family home. There might be some more stuff that comes through, but we got the majority of it when we went down. And so we've spent the last week doing sorting stuff away. Dad and I built the headboard for the bed out of the 2 headboards that were down there. There were 2 twin headboards that my grandfather had built for the cottages for the bed and breakfast that they ran. And so we just took 2 of the headboards, fucking smacked them together, and Bob's your uncle, you have a California King headboard. So nice. We put those together, hung that up on the wall, and got some other stuff done around the house as well. Nothing stand out. Pretty straightforward week. Yeah, God. Usually I have something else to say, but I've just been streaming like crazy. I've had, I think
It's been 2 days where you started before me. I was like, whoa, I just got a notification Adam went live. I was
That's because I finally was like, I'm not doing shit around the house as much. I have moments to actually work, and so I've been, I had, not to sound like somebody else in this conversation that, the grind time is on all the time, but, I had 2 15-hour and a 13 and change, and then a 12-hour yesterday. And so those have been the last, like I've got 115 hours in Elden Ring at this point. And so we've been fucking going off the rails on the stream, but it's been good. It's been nice to be able to do that. Not that I want to continue to do that level of streaming for very long, but for the meantime, it's an available thing that I can actually do. I've been enjoying Elden Ring for the most part. I look forward to writing the review for it when I'm done. If I'm ever done, that game just doesn't end. It's just a never-ending fucking experience, that thing. And yeah, that's pretty much been it. And so, without further ado, shall we discuss some of the goings on in the video game industry, Mr. Black?
Yes, sir.
Nintendo When I say Nintendo, the first images that pop into the minds of many people is Mario and maybe Luigi if you're lucky, and a Yoshi, and happy times and wonderful feelings, warm fuzzies. For some people, you say Nintendo and they have PTSD and all of a sudden they're afraid that their bank account's been drained and they're going to be sent to the gulag. That's the dichotomy of Nintendo as for several years now, and man alive, in the last few years, they've been really dialing that shit up. And so in the last week, we got another couple of, well, it's been a couple weeks, I suppose, for some of these things. We've been experiencing a little bit more of Nintendo's litigious side of the coin, and so I thought we'd maybe talk a little bit about that, because why not? The first thing that some people probably would have seen before the second part of this that just came up here in the last 2 days was YouTube creator Point Crow, who's a relatively well-known YouTube creator, honestly, especially in the Nintendo space, was picked out particularly. Now, I'll preface this by saying that just like with some of the other times in Nintendo's past, when a major release is coming up, they have this thing where they go to the legal department and they say, all right, guys, listen up. It's gut check time. We're going to get you on YouTube. We've bought 750,000 phones for you to use simultaneously to ensure that you can find literally every video that has ever been posted on this platform in the last 15 years that's even tangentially related to a small degree to the game that we're about to release. And we want to make sure that you strike the ever-living fuck out of every single one of those videos and make sure that they are no longer available on any platform ever on the internet. Go have fun. And so they've been in that season. You know why? Because Tears of the Kingdom is coming out in the not too distant future here. We're coming up on that release. And so especially Breath of the Wild stuff, since apparently they don't even watch the video. They just see a thumbnail. They're like, oh yeah, that looks like Breath of the Wild / Tears of the Kingdom, fucking ban. And so just throwing shit out everywhere. So they've been on that tip. However, some people have been getting picked out more than others, and Point Crow is at the center of the majority of it right now. He covers a wide range of stuff. Like I said, pretty much into a lot of the Nintendo things very specifically, but he covers a wide range of content. And what seemingly first got him into hot water was his modded content videos. From what I understand, I listened to his videos, I watched his video that was kind of loosely outlining this while I was on the way home. I wasn't watching, I was listening. On the way home from taking him to work. And he was talking about how the videos that he started getting flagged up front were simply videos in which he had been doing mods to some Nintendo games, either A, to be able to facilitate and show issues with games of Nintendo's in general that were there, or B, just fun stuff. He wasn't selling anything or anything along those lines, and he's been very particular about making sure that he is following both YouTube's content guidelines and, because we all know, and especially him, what Nintendo's guidelines are like, that he also colors inside the lines to make sure that he's not catching any strays, so to speak. And so nothing that he's been doing, he's not selling these things or anything of that nature. It's not an emulator situation or even a ROM situation. He's just been doing mod videos, as a fun piece of content and to bring to light some of the issues some of these games have. So that was what he first started getting hit with, Mr. Black. Then after that, he started getting hit with some harder shit. And eventually, he got hit with 2 strikes, basically back to back. Not claims. That's different. There's difference. In the land of YouTube creators we're very used to content claims. They roll through quite frequently. Many people, unless they're doing high profile, high effort video, don't even give a fuck when a claim comes through. They look at it and they're like, you know what? This ain't worth me fighting it, because it's going to be 4 months waiting for YouTube to get back to me, and I'm not going to make any money on it anyway. So basically a claim is somebody, usually they don't actually have a claim to it, but YouTube doesn't give a fuck. It's guilty until proven innocent. They put a claim in and they get to harvest all of the fucking ad revenue that comes in off of that video, because just because they spoke up and said, hey, I own that. They probably don't, but that's what they say. And YouTube goes, oh, my bad. Let me just divert the funds your way. And so usually when those come through, even in the emails that you'll get as a creator, YouTube will say, this is not a strike. It's okay. We're just taking your money. No big deal. And so that's what that is. But this is not what he was getting. He was getting strikes, which is, that's the one that when you get that email as a creator, you start to poop a little. Because you only get 3 strikes like a fucking game of baseball that Jeff is desperately trying to get Kai involved in, you only get 3 of those bad boys, and your channel is toast. Not only can one channel be toast, but if you're a content creator like Jeff and I here, for example, back in the day, we ran Life's a Glitch 2, which is currently, by the way, if you didn't already know, a technical alpha clips channel. So if you're somebody that can't consume all the podcasts, Life's a Glitch TV 2 on YouTube is where that stuff is housed. In shorts format now. Mark's been doing a fucking banger job over there with the shorts. We ran that for one type of content, and Lag TV, the main channel, for StarCraft. And so if we had gotten copyright strikes, actual strikes on one channel, YouTube, technically in writing, cannot just close down the one channel that was affected, but every single affiliated channel. And so when you get a copyright strike as a creator, and that shit doesn't leave your account, that's just there now, you start to pay attention. Nintendo, knowing that they have 3, gave this man 2. They're sending a warning like a fucking Italian mafia, some shit. Got you fucking sending you a black dot or some shit in the friggin' mail. They're like, yeah, we know you need 3, and your ass is toasted, so here's 2. Do something about it. And so they did. They sent them on those videos. But then they started targeting videos that made no sense, Mr. Black. Videos that were unrelated to any of the other content that they were originally taking down. Videos that were literally just standard gameplay. Like, nothing, just literal standard gameplay. They were just hitting this man left, right, and center. So he's put out videos explaining this situation, obviously trying to raise awareness, through his channel, with the hopes of reaching Nintendo, because you're never gonna reach them by email, or by mail, or carrier pigeon, or almost any other means, psychic or otherwise. They just don't give a fuck. It's Nintendo. They just send the message and they leave. And so he's hoping to get some attention, clearly. But it does highlight a dual problem. One, Nintendo clearly fucking hates people that like their games. Fuck you guys. They don't want anyone to enjoy their games except for the expressed way in which they want you to enjoy them. You a big fan? Don't even draw fan art at home, you son of a bitch. Just buy fucking Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze for the 3rd time for full price and play it normally and enjoy it. But if you want to make a video about how much you like it, well, coming for your ass. And so Nintendo's really bad for that. So he's in the midst of this, but what he is saying specifically and shown, and what is important about this, and I'll throw this over to Mr. Black to get his thoughts on this part before we move on to the second, what he has shown explicitly is that he has not, on any of the videos in which they've claimed, or otherwise, done anything against any of the agreements that Nintendo or YouTube, the 2 parties involved in this situation, have laid out for anyone. He is completely within the lines. He's done way more work than most people who are content creators, and Jeff and I would know this. Most of them fucking don't think about any of this shit. They just press okay, yes, agree, fuck it, put video up, worry about it later. He hasn't done any of that. So, with that being said,
who is this? What channel is this?
This is Point. His name is Point Crow. Is his name?
Point Crow.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I see.
Yes. So, his latest video is in response to this. I would imagine he's still posting that stuff. I would imagine the last couple of videos. So yeah, that's the current situation. So, not necessarily specific to this, but obviously, you can reference this if you want. But my question to you, Mr. Black, is for content creation and things like this with Nintendo, they're not the only company that does it, but they are definitely the most high-profile company that does it directly. Like, other companies tend to do it through third parties and shit. Nintendo is just fucking them. They're the people doing this shit. Do you think it is okay, especially if they're not going against any of the agreements, or do you think this is overreach, or do you think this is still well within Nintendo's lines, or is it a case where it's technically within their lines, but they're just being assholes? Like, what do you think this situation? What does this call for?
First off, Guts McStabby, thanks for the $10 super chat. He said, caught y'all live. Have some pesos.
Bless.
Thank you.
That's going straight to Nintendo to pay for legal fees for mentioning their name on this podcast.
As for the question, it's a loaded question because legally speaking, they can do whatever the fuck they want to do when it comes to their property. I mean, it is not a secret that Nintendo is notorious for punishing people for creating content with their IP. I don't think it has to do necessarily with them doing it to just be dicks.
I don't think that's the case, but they definitely come across as dicks.
Of course they do. You know what I think it has to do with?
What's that?
I think it has to do with the Japanese culture when it comes to how businesses are ran. And, it's not just Japanese culture. There's Chinese culture. There's different types of
businesses handled differently in different places.
Correct. Yeah. Correct. And that's not an out-of-pocket thing to say. I mean, the way Americans do their business, the way the Chinese do their business, the way Canadians do their business, the way Europeans do their business, there is some discrepancies between each country. And I think Japan, or the Japanese specific, I'm talking about Nintendo here.
Yeah.
They have a very particular way that they want their brand represented. And when you were going through, I didn't want to cut you off, but when you were going through the things that this guy does on his channel, number one, he's got 1.62 million subscribers.
He's a pretty big dude, yeah.
So, every one of his videos on average is getting between 1.2 to 2 million views. There's videos he has up here of Pokemon. I'm sure he might even get the same type of things. When you have such a large audience, you're going to turn some heads. And the last thing that you I don't think you did it purposely, but the last thing that you said when you were describing what this guy does on his channel, you said, and he sometimes talks about what's wrong with the games. And
finding like mechanically like broken stuff about it. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. When you are doing that, you are showing millions of people things that are wrong with the game. Now, anybody could talk about what's wrong with the game. It's not a crime by any means. And everybody has the right to say what they like and they don't like about a movie, about music, about anything. You can have your opinion. It's a free world. You can speak your mind. But when you are then also making, let's be real, this guy's channel is probably making 500,000 plus a year. Probably more. Not including brand deals and whatnot. So when you're making an astronomical amount of money and you have millions of people watching your videos, you're putting a target on your back one way or another, and you are playing with fire already, seeing as though you're making Nintendo a big focal point of your channel. Nintendo don't give a fuck about your job. They don't give a shit about your little subscribers. They don't give a shit about how you feel. All they care about is their brand and how it is being represented. And they're going to control what they legally are able to control the way that they want to do it. Just like on Twitch, there is no, like, us streaming Elden Ring can theoretically be a DMCA.
Yes.
But it's just a known thing that you don't do that because it's advertisement and it's become the norm. You don't want to be that company that is like, nope, you can't have fun. I'm going to be your fun sponge. And you ain't making no videos, no nothing, no community. Fuck you, buy my game, play it by yourself and your friend, and that's the show. And I don't even necessarily think that's what Nintendo does. but they ain't too far from that, where they're going, hey, guys, we're selling like fucking crazy anyway. Do you think we really need your fucking YouTube channel up there showing millions of people how broken parts of our games are or whatever? No, fuck you. I don't want that out there. So to answer the first part of your question, yeah, they have every right to do it. I don't think they're doing it just to be dicks. I'm sure if this guy made content and it was like a glowing thing where all he did was like bow before Nintendo and you know, do all of the things that they would love to see, it might be a little bit of a different story. I don't know. They still might just say, no, I can't watch all of your content. I'm not going to pay people to siphon through every one of your videos. I don't know what is actually going on. So instead, they're rolling up on them. You know, they're like, we call it in Grand Theft Auto. You know, when you're rolling up on someone's block, you're pressing somebody. You're saying, listen, you want the smoke? Because I don't know if you see this or not, but Yas got 2 strikes. 3 strikes, you're out, bitch. If I were you, I would make some changes with your content because I'm letting you know we're coming and we ain't stopping and we have every legal right to do it. Do I feel for the guy? Absolutely. As a content creator, when something's going good for you, you're in your lane, you're having fun, people are enjoying your content, you feel like you're doing nothing wrong. And in this case, he probably is doing nothing wrong, like ethically. But like at the end of the day, you don't own it. You don't own the property. They do. And so you kind of have to play ball. And that's pretty much sums it up. I mean, I don't know what else to add.
It is like it does. I think one of the things that I think this was, I can't remember if this is last year or the year before because time doesn't mean anything anymore, but it wasn't that long ago where in the midst of one of these similar situations, like, because like I was saying, this is like seasonal for Nintendo. It's like allergy season. Well, it's Nintendo takedown season. There have been times where you know that they're not watching shit, they're just clicking like immediately or canvassing, like sending it into YouTube to just canvass the like carpet bomb, because even things like IGN's review of their games were getting takedowns and deletions, like just like massive media companies that have direct relationships with Nintendo were catching strays.
Yep.
And so it's true. I definitely, so I agree to go over my side of things, which I obviously made clear with some of my jokes I was making along describing this. But so I agree with Jeff. As a content creator, I feel for the guy because, you know, it makes me sad because Nintendo games make so many people so fucking happy. Nintendo is like the cornerstone.
It's Nintendo.
It's Nintendo.
It's
right?
Nintendo. You don't even need to describe it. It's Nintendo. It's
And
great
so
times.
and so when you get a content creator that is one of those people and they're so excited about Nintendo and they love it, and it's like when you're it's content, that is your life now. It's not just a hobby. This shit is your job, your hobby, your life. It is the in and out of the thing. You get somebody that excited about your what you are creating and putting out there, and they're not trying to profit off of it in a way that's like you taking, like it's not somebody taking a ROM and fucking hacking the ROM and then selling the ROM on the other side. It's like if somebody went to like if we went to go see a movie or something else, and then you get people going out and they make like fan fiction. They write fan fiction about it, or they'll front their own fucking like mini shoot of them. Remember Mortal Kombat had something similar to like that before.
Star Wars has a ton of them.
Right?
Yeah.
And for me, if I was somebody if I had created a property like that, and I saw that I was getting people so fucking excited that that's what they were doing, as long as they were staying within the fucking lanes of don't try and literally take my shit and monetize it as if it's like one for one, right? Like don't resell my shit. I would have such a hard time because I'm stifling everyone. They're just sharing their love for this thing.
Yeah, well, so, I mean, when it comes to the Mortal Kombat stuff and the Star Wars stuff, and people have been striked and taken down. The reason why that shit has happened is because they don't want the audience to get attached to an adaptation that they that they are not doing. And that
they're not going to commit to.
They don't even want the plant. They don't even want to plant the seeds
to
make people think that they want something that they didn't know they wanted.
It's a fine line to walk.
It's a fine
right?
line.
Yeah.
Exactly. And, these are multi-bagillion-dollar companies, man. They don't, it's like being in a factory and you're watching how Gatorade is made, right? And this is just called Orange. All right. There's no fancy name. It's just Orange. So you're inside this factory and there's this big fucking machine that is just mixing sugar, mixing fucking sweetener and whatever water and whatever other shit they put in this chemical shit. And it comes out perfect every single time. No matter if you grab bottle 200 or 1
sugar
or
water purple.
Sugar water orange this time.
Yeah, this time.
So that's what you get. What they don't want is they don't want some content creator coming into the factory and saying, "What's up, guys? Hey, I'm inside the factory. All right, this is where they make Gatorade." First, before we get into it, hit the like button. Oh, and watch this. They didn't know they wanted this, but back at home, all right, what I like to do is I like to add a couple teaspoons of cocaine. And I'm telling you, it's going to be amazing. So what do? They just dump a whole pile of cocaine inside the Gatorade mixing thing. And then somebody takes a bottle of it and they drink it and they go, "Whoa, this is fucking amazing. This is great. Should have been like this the whole time." Gatorade don't want that shit. They don't want you contaminating the stuff that they make. It tastes a way that they want it to taste. Nintendo, they want the game represented in a way that they presented it in. Even if somebody else criticizes, modifies, whatever, even if it's theoretically a better tasting drink, or in this case, a better piece of content or a better part of a game, they don't want you to experience that enlightenment, that advanced part of the product through someone else. They want to give you that experience. And that's when you're dealing with these companies that are worth this much money, they ain't got time for you, bro. They're saying this fucking guy on YouTube, strike. They don't give a fuck. They don't care if this guy, drug his way out of poverty. He's got 16 kids at home, 3 wives, and a fucking, I don't know. They don't give a fuck. All they care about is their product and what it looks like and how people consume it. And Nintendo is that company that will fuck you up if they feel threatened in any way, shape, or form. And since they own the IP, they have full control over what people do with it. And so they are inherently doing nothing wrong, but it's annoying as fuck. And it pisses people off. And people scratch their heads and they go, "Why are they doing this? It doesn't make any sense." Well, I just explained it. And I'm sure that there are even more in-depth reasons why they don't want this shit to happen the way they do. And they, like I said before, the way some Japanese companies are ran are very different than what Activision Blizzard's going to do, and very different from what Rockstar is going to do. And even Rockstar does things a certain way. You fuck around, you're going to find out. Nintendo, same thing. Atlas, same thing. Konami, same thing. They all have their different gripes and things that they're willing to do. And here we are. And
with Nintendo, it's nothing. It's just nothing at all. That's your entry point is just nothing. It's true. So like in Japan, and some of this I think stems from what you were talking about in the beginning. And it's true. So in Japan, we've talked about this on the podcast as well. The IP law that's over there is very different than it is here. From the way that I understand it, it's boiled down. It's if a company in Japan does not actively protect its intellectual property pretty much at every corner, then they are able to lose the rights to their own intellectual property. And so even though they're operating in a theater outside of Japan in much of these instances, they are still applying the same policy everywhere. Got to defend this shit from top to bottom, and make sure that we continue to protect our IP, even if it comes at the cost of looking like a bit of an asshole. Nintendo also, in a way that is fortunate for them, a lot of the base of players, they don't know any of this is happening. They don't care.
I don't give a shit.
Then, like, no, this is not like a lot of North American companies where content is pushed through on a lot of North American games, and so lots of the people playing them are totally aware of what the companies are doing. Nintendo doesn't need to worry about that. Kai upstairs playing Pokemon Snap on the Switch doesn't know anything about Point Crow or his situation with Nintendo, and if you asked him, Kai would probably just say, "Can we just go do something else?" Like, Kai don't give a shit.
He don't care.
Nobody cares.
He don't care. And
so it doesn't really hurt Nintendo the same way that it would hurt a North American company catching flack in the online community for doing something like this. Even if people understand, the reasoning behind it, it can sometimes be a bit silly.
And last thing before we move on, because I don't want to beat a dead horse, but the last thing is even if they did, Japanese companies don't give a fuck about what you think. They're gonna do what they do. They're not this Americanized. Walking on eggshells thing where these companies will change what they're doing on a dime because of a social backlash or whatever. Nintendo will give zero fucks. This could be front page Reddit with 1 million upvotes. The shit could be on every talk show, a podcast. They ain't gonna give a fuck. They'll give zero fucks. They won't change. Okay, you know what? This ain't what was that? What was the Dungeons and Dragons? When Dungeons and Dragons changed their fucking their content thing or whatever, right? People got up in arms. They're like, "Whoa, I better back up that fun bus a little bit." Nintendo will be like, "Suck on me dick. I ain't doing shit. I ain't doing shit. Don't like the rules? Fuck off. Don't need you. You don't run the company, we do."
It's very accurate, very accurate. So part 2 to this, which is not the same topic, it's Nintendo, different topic, a very interesting one from a similar, business, all the right in the world. Morally, what the fuck are you doing? Kind of a situation. And this is perhaps the more high profile of the two. So a couple of years back now, Nintendo filed a lawsuit against a member of Team Executor, which was a business that was more or less producing hacks for Nintendo consoles and selling them. So now we've entered into actual money territory.
Yeah, so it's just like...
That's a problem. So this guy, ironically named Gary Bowser, by the way. It's shocking how many people seem to have the last name Bowser still involved with Nintendo. I mean, the company is literally, Nintendo America is run by a guy named Bowser. This guy's name's Gary Bowser, and unfortunately, hate to say it, he's Canadian. But he wasn't the head of, but he was one of the employees of this company. And Nintendo hasn't been able to get their hands on to extradite or get into a court the other leading members, including the owner of this would-be company. But they got their hands on Gary. And so unfortunately for Gary, that means that Gary is catching the fucking death of 1,000 sons from Nintendo's legal department to make a very strict point about any of this. They want this to happen one time and never again. And so Gary is unfortunately catching a lot of fucking heat for this. So
Gary got fucked on.
Gary got, and in perpetuity will continue to get fucked on. Case in point. So this man just spent 40 months in jail. He's 53 years old. And spent 40 months, so almost 4 years in jail. I think it was supposed to be a little longer, but he got out because his health ain't too hot. And so he got out of jail for that reason and on good behavior. So 40 months in jail, he leaves. His part in this, in terms of how much money he financially gained in this whole operation, has been estimated to be somewhere in the neighborhood of, I guess, $300,000 over the course of several years. I think they averaged out that he was making a little bit better than the average income of most people by doing this. It was just that it was spread over the course of all this time. And so he was sentenced to 40-something plus months, or 5 years or 4 years or whatever in jail. He served 40 months. He gets out. But also on the other side, that was a fine, of course. And because Nintendo hasn't been able to get right on top of anyone else at the company, Gary is seemingly going to bear the weight of all of the damages that Nintendo found that they had been served in the existence of this said company. And that's to the tune of $14.5 million. As such, $4.5 million was a separate portion of the fine, and then $10 million was another. The $4.5 he may not have to pay because he's going back to Canada, and he might be able to dodge that. You know, bullet dodged on that. Now he only has to pay $10 million. So he's got $10 million bucks. Unfortunately, Gary, who's 53 with health problems, as one might imagine, making $300,000 over the course of nearly a decade, not swimming in money. Gary, he's not really just fucking banging out dollar bills left, right, and center. So $10 million bucks, bit steep. And so what's the solution? Well, they're going the old-fashioned fuck you route, and they're going to garnish the wages he doesn't make, especially now that he's spent time in jail for a federal fucking offense, where he's going to have an even harder time to... I mean, how hard was it going to be for him to find a job at 53 with health problems? That is 53 health problems and just got out of jail for fucking fraud or some shit. And so now he's a felon on top of all these things. They're going to garnish his wages in perpetuity until this is paid off, because it's in perpetuity because he ain't paying it off. And he better, his kids, if he has any, better thank God that shit doesn't get passed on to the next generation when he eventually fucking kicks the bucket, because his ass is going to get through about fucking 10 grand of this shit before he's gone, and there's still going to be $990,000, well, $9,990,000 left by the time this is all said and done. 25% is what he was ordered to pay out of all of his earnings. Starting, I think he has 6 months from his release to start these payments. So 25% of all of his take-home pay will go directly into the coffers of Nintendo until $10 million is paid off. Again, that's not going to fucking happen. He's just going to be paying them 25% a month for the rest of his life. And that's it. That's where he's at right now. So he's back in Canada. He's in a hospital at the moment, getting checked out and fixed up. And before I hand this off to Jeff, I just want to clarify, I'm not necessarily in this guy's corner for what he did and took part in, because clearly he broke the law. I'm not disputing that. The man literally ran an operation, or was part of an operation, that made a fair amount of money over the course of several years, that should not have been a thing. And so he should definitely have been in trouble for that, and served time and maybe had a fine, etc. So he served nearly 4 years, which I think for $300,000 in his involvement is already a pretty decent start to serve 4 years in federal prison. And then a fine of some amount would make sense. Do I think, personally, $10 million where you know this man is never going to even approach $10 million, and you could pass that on to the next 3 fucking generations of his family and it will still not be paid off $10 million? Do I think that was necessary? No. Do I think this is 100% Gary, unfortunately, being the example that Nintendo wants to make of somebody?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And now, Mr. Black, what's your read on this bad boy?
Oh, it's kind of crazy. That shit's kind of crazy.
This is not to make light of this, but this might actually, I would be worried about him wanting to just end things, if you catch my drift. Because if you landed that on my plate...
Yeah, I mean, it's either that, or like you're just not working. Like you're just living off government paychecks, and you're just finding a way to, I guess, be comfortable. I feel for the guy, because that's kind of insane. I think everybody has kind of downloaded things on the internet, and I've dabbled with some ROMs, and I've been down the road, as well. I will say I've never sold anything for profit,
of course,
especially at the tune of $300,000, literally. But he's definitely being made an example of. It's unfortunate. It's a 53-year-old man that just spent
nearly 4 years in jail.
Nearly 4 years in jail. I think that is already a little.
You probably could have left it at 4 years in jail, and maybe let's say a $250,000 fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
4 years and $14.5 million?
At the very least, Like, find the guy, the $300K that he made, and add interest on there.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Okay.
That seems like a very Nintendo deserves something. But God damn, 10 million from a registered felon now. I mean, this guy, where is he going to get a job at? He's going to go work at, Walmart, maybe. Not saying there's anything wrong with working at Walmart, but you ain't making $10 million in a lifetime.
They know they're never getting that money back, and that's what's the craziest part about this shit. Like, he should be punished and do his thing, but to do this, that's pushing a man. Like somebody said in the comment section of a video I was watching about this, that this sounds like a villain origin story.
Yeah.
Type situation where like the punishment
does not Bowser.
Yeah. Like the punishment does not match the crime in this instance. I think most people would agree. I think even Nintendo knows it does not match the crime. But here we are. It's kind of like, what do you do for him? Anyway, Nintendo, calm down. It's okay. Breathe. You're fine. But it's true. They are very protective of their IP. It's kind of like I was reading. Japanese companies are very, very efficient at this. Well, we all know how much Pokemon is worth, but I think the one that's more impressive is like in the top 3 or 5 most valuable intellectual properties in the world, Hello Kitty is on like the top 3 or some shit, and that's it. It's just Hello Kitty. There is no. It's one fucking one cartoon, and it's in top 3 all-time world. Like they are,
yeah, bro.
IP management monsters over there. They are very, very efficient and good at it.
Yep.
Mind you, I don't think the Hello Kitty.
Nobody.
I don't know if the Hello Kitty team's coming after a man's wages for $10 million, but nevertheless,
crazy.
There it is. Moving on, VR and FPS shooter by an indie team called Unrecord, which is a title for sure, has an official Steam trailer that came out, I believe it was yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. I sent that for Mr. Black so he can take a little peek.
I've already watched this, yeah.
Oh, you see, you're aware. And it has people talking again. It had people talking the first time that they had like a short, snippet. This was a while back now that they did that. But particularly this time around, because it's a longer trailer, and particularly they're talking about, of course, how photorealistic the visuals are, because they are particularly, photorealistic. The lighting is very well done, and the animations of the head bob and whatnot are like, if you're watching, especially on your phone, where you're not full screen, so like you're taking it in from a bit more of a distance, you would be forgiven if you mistook it for.
It looks real.
Yeah,
it looks real.
And so the discussion that's been happening around online, I'll also give the concept of this game. So as you heard, the name of the game is Unrecord. And the idea of this game is that you are a tactical police officer, and we're experiencing this game via the officer's body cam, which, again, the game is called Unrecord. I think you can start to stitch some shit together there between the concept of the game and the title of the game itself. And so the photorealistic issue, or not issue, but the nature of it, and it is very impressive, is raising some concerns about it, probably because it's also a shooter. And so what I have here in my notes is for Mr. Black and I to talk about. I'm interested in Mr. Black's thoughts. So I'll just read what I have here in my notes and we get Mr. Black's thoughts on this. So I said, it's apparent that the term photorealistic is getting closer and closer to being less of a tagline and more of a reality. I mean, we've tossed around the whole photorealistic thing since 1996 when we saw Cloud Strife with 4 fucking triangles that were supposed to exist to make up his elbow joint that just fucking disappeared into nothingness. We were like, wow! Holy shit, it's so photorealistic! Look at those backgrounds! So we've been using this term for a while. We are approaching now, in the year of our Lord, 2023, some pretty close to actual photorealistic environments and situations. We are making it no longer a tagline, but indeed closer to a reality. Do we think that there's a point in which certain subgenres of games, like a first-person shooter, may actually get to be too real in the sense that it may actually desensitize people to realistic gun violence because it looks and plays so real? We're talking about a game that's photorealistic, that's VR. So not only is it photorealistic, you're putting the headset on, you are in the room. You have got the hand controllers in your hands, as you know, with the VR set, and you are going through these motions. It changes things, whether some people might like to admit it or not, it definitely does. Now, this changes it in ways that people might have thought back in the day Counter-Strike was a thing. Jeff would remember when we were young lads that a lot of the discussion that you would hear in the news is even surrounding games like Counter-Strike or even fucking Halo, which was not photorealistic and about a fucking 7'8" bio fucking machine human dude traveling to a ring planet far away fighting aliens, which is a little different than playing a game in VR photorealistically as a police officer through a body cam shooting people. Regular ass humans. Changes the game just a little bit when those things all come together. So, is this or does this seem to be approaching that issue properly for the first time? And before I hand this off to Jeff, my other points to add to this are: imagine, for example, and many people would remember this that played it. Remember, Mr. Black, the level No Russian in Call of Duty. You walk out the elevator, they're having the talk, and the last words, no Russian. Walk out, and you are in an airport, and you're doing some shit. I can't even describe it to you on this platform because that scene and that has been completely, you can't go anywhere near it. That's the level of controversy surrounding that scene in that game. Imagine that, but this game's photorealism in VR. Because that's what's possible. If they wanted to, they could take what they have in this game and just do a no Russian, and it'd be there. You could do it. So imagine that. That's where we're at right now. And then I think the last thing that I already kind of joked about is having a body cam cop game with photorealism like this and calling it Unrecord is some bold shit in 2023, given all the shit that we've seen with cops and body cams in the last 4 years or 5 years has been a hot topic. Lots of cops turning their body cams off to do some heinous shit. And thankfully, there have been other cameras on while shit's been going down. It's been a very, in North America anyway, a very controversial topic. And so I think they know what they're doing when they're calling the game Unrecord and making it about a fucking cop with a body cam. That's not all a bunch of coincidences tied together in a line. That's called a pattern. So I think that's part of it. But to answer that question, Mr. Black, how do you feel? Do you think that we're approaching that? Do you think this is starting to get close to a problem situation for desensitizing, especially younger folk? And even younger folk, I gotta be honest, I looked at it and I was like, fuck me, I don't even know if I want to play that. Because it's getting a little... It's getting a little fun. Well, I guess photorealistic, Mr. Black, as much as I there's a difference to me between playing Call of Duty and then that game seems like in my brain, and I've been playing games my whole life, I went, I don't know about that. So how do you feel about this situation?
It's tough because it looks incredible. Like, I mean, holy shit. The stuff looks from a visual standpoint, I haven't played it, so I don't really know like what it feels like, but from like what I'm watching, it's that thing that you've always imagined video games would look like.
We knew it was coming kind of thing.
We knew it was coming, but like I didn't think it was going to come this soon. It is, you want my honest answer?
Of course.
I think it's scary. And I think it's I don't think this is good. I really don't. And I've always been the guy that made the argument that like, if something is adult, if it's 18 plus, kids should not be playing the stuff. And you should have a mature enough brain to realize, like old enough to understand what is right, what is wrong, what is real, what isn't. And you don't take anything too serious. But this is so real. You know, if we were watching a game right now and it was like Resident Evil and there were zombies walking around and you were shooting zombies and stuff, I would still feel a little off by seeing how real the shit is. But at the same time, it would be a really cool thing to experience and very, very horrific. But we're getting so this is so close to real that, like, and it's in VR, that it makes me uncomfortable. I honestly think that the argument that people gave that, like, video games are, you know, rotting the minds of our children, and they're going out and they're doing these mass shootings and they're planting seeds into the heads and stuff. You know, there is an argument to be made for that as a whole already. Not one that I fully agree with by any means. I mean,
and has yet to be proven with all the studies they've done. Yeah,
exactly, right. You know, I'm not just going to take that argument and kind of throw it out the window and be like, oh no, you're stupid. You know, I'm sure that there are people that have gone out and done some pretty heinous things that were addicted to shooting video games or whatever, but there's no evidence that that's the thing that drove them out to do it. What I fear, though, is something like this, depending on how the reward system feels like and how the game operates and how it makes you feel, seeing as though it feels and looks so fucking real that, like, it might start planting seeds into people that aren't mentally capable of handling such realism in such a setting, that they might feel as though, like, I've already experienced what it's like to shoot somebody, to be shot, and to have that. I don't know. Like, it's hard for me to explain, and it's a sticky situation, because usually I'm the guy that's on the other side of the fence where I'm like, nah, people are old enough, they can make their own decisions, they can do it. For me, bro, I see that shit. They're not going around shooting paintball guns. Like, this ain't a paintball simulator where they're showing you how real shit is. They're showing some real fucking shit. And if you guys haven't seen this, it's very realistic. It's scary realistic. And the type of game that they're making here is almost promoting realism violence to the point where it makes me uncomfortable. That's my honest answer. I don't like this. It's not something I'll buy. It's not something I'll play. You know, I guess it's really great for those simulators that people really want to experience things. And there's a lot of people that are gun owners that are very responsible, and they're, you know, I don't even want to get into the politics of that will really enjoy something like this. Just like the realism
nobody's
in
worried
iRacing.
about them.
No,
like, nobody's worried about them.
Nobody's worried about them. It's just like iRacing, very realistic with the cars. This is even more realistic than the iRacing stuff. And that shit looks crazy real and feels crazy real. But this here is like another level of holy shit. Like, you could be training people to go out there and have the confidence and reenact these things. I mean, dude, modification gets so crazy that people could literally recreate areas and learn how to maneuver and the things to do in places. And just with how crazy guns and things are in certain parts of the world, America, it's scary, man. It's fucking scary. It's like, on one end, I want to be excited about the leaps forward that we're getting in video games. But on the other hand, I'm like, whoa, it's kind of like seeing some like AI that comes out and you're like, holy shit, this thing is so fucking smart. It's like, it's real. Then you realize, like, okay, what does this actually mean? Like, whoa, this could be trouble. That's how I'm feeling about this. It's wild. It's
yeah.
wild.
So, like, I think, the things that make this bad are inherently are, other than the fact that it does have a lot of photorealism to it. And people in the comment section have been pointing out, or in the chat's been pointing out, it's when you're, the character models aren't quite as nice as the environment, and the video filters that they're using because it's out of the body cam does a lot of the heavy lifting to, make it look more real than it really is. And if you took the filters away, well, yeah, I mean, I could make all sorts of arguments for, like, yeah, if I turned every character in the game into fucking Bozo the Clown, and I fucking took the filters off and then made everything paintball mode, then it would be kind of like my mom convincing herself that us playing GoldenEye as a 7-year-old with paintball mode on was somehow different than fucking shooting them with real bullets. It's not. But, like, it's the fact that that's the package. You can't look at the package and be like, well, it's not bad because if you took these parts of the package away, it would be better. The reality is we're not taking those parts of the package away. It's just what it is. Yeah. VR by itself is already. I'm sure. I don't have any studies on this, but if I would be shocked, given how adaptive the human brain is, that spending extended periods of time in a virtual reality environment probably starts to blur the lines when they take the helmet off, and fuck with people a little bit, similar to somebody who may hallucinate for various mental reasons. I would be shocked if that's not the case if you're in extended periods of time. It also is kind of like the degrees of separation from something matter. So, for example, in this instance, you have a game that is photorealistic to a degree that, or realistic looking in a way, regardless of filters or whatever, that your brain registers it as more real or close to real. That's all that matters. It doesn't matter if you pause frame and look through every pixel to find something that doesn't look real. What matters is that the whole is telling your brain this looks real. That's all that fucking matters. So that's a degree in and of itself. The next degree is you're moving past a screen and into a VR environment. Now you're being placed in an environment that is specifically within a technology that is specifically designed to make you feel like you are in the environment that it is projecting to you. It is not trying to just put the screen. It's not the same as like taking your eyeballs and fucking cramming that shit up against your 65-inch television and playing it up front. It's not the same thing. This is designed to put you in an environment and make you feel like you're in that environment, and with other controllers, make it even as tactile as possible. The sights, the fucking audio, the 3D audio, the tactical controllers that you had, the feedback, everything is provided to you. We're out here making things like the fucking, as you've seen, where you hook yourself up at the waist, you're on a shit that you can walk on, treadmill style, or even full fucking sprint in these games. All of this is already here and only getting better. This just so happens to feel like, to me, the genesis point of the whole argument of, have we reached the problem child of video games, as this might actually be the one. This could be the canary in the coal mine situation, because it's all about degrees of separation. We've got almost none now left. When you put VR, photorealism, first-person shooter, about a cop, body cam,
it's
everything. It's like there's no degrees. There's not just
you're
up against the wall.
You're pulling the trigger. Like you're in it, dude. I think everybody that's listening to this podcast has seen a video on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube where somebody has been seriously injured or killed in a video, and it's coming, and it's hard to look at, and sometimes for me, it's like, I don't even want to see it. Like, I just kind of click out. It's like or you're kind of watching, but like you're preparing yourself to just stop it or whatnot.
Well, you see people falling over and shit.
Falling over. Exactly, right? In this, think about the videos that you may have seen on the internet that make you extremely uncomfortable, but like you're there and you're in control and you're the one pulling the trigger. You're the one doing these things. I actually believe that this will be a problem. It won't be a problem for everybody. Don't get me wrong. The majority of people, I don't think it will be a problem. But it's the minority. and this can do a lot of damage to people's minds, depending on how addictive the games are, how it feels. It's in my opinion, it's companies like think about NASA. I am sure that NASA astronauts, when they're training, they're in simulators. They're not actually going into space on the first go. They're in these probably insane, I don't know, I could be talking into my ass.
Oh, they have simulators, yeah.
They're probably in some crazy, high-tech, insane simulators that replicate gravity, that replicate pressure, and all of the things. The photorealism, everything. They probably got it. And they practice these things. So when they go to do the real thing, they are mentally prepared. It's obviously going to feel a little bit different because it is a simulation to real life, but they're going to build the confidence. They're going to understand what to do, their surroundings, all of this stuff. I've been here before. I've done this before. I can do it. And it's scary to think that there could be some troubled people out there that could be using this as a training ground, or have a bad moment in time and say, you know what, I'm really good at this. Unrecord. I bet you I can do it in real life, and that's a very scary thing to think about. And like Adam said, it's very different than playing Halo 2. It's very different than playing Call of Duty. It's very different from playing any of those other games. This is on another fucking level. I would have just rather this game have been with paintballs and a big paintball court, showing off it, make it lighthearted and whatever. But instead, they know what they're doing.
They went straight for police body cam, bro.
They went straight to it, and they know what they're doing. It's going to get all the headlines. It's going to get everybody talking. It's a very, very touchy subject, and it's a problem. This one's a problem.
Yeah, I think, and just to talk just briefly about one of the points that you were touching on, where, it's not that you have to be worried about everyone, but you do have to take into consideration, you have to weigh the risk reward of what type of person gets exposed to this stuff. I think it's relatively safe to assume that there is, I think it's relatively safe to say, or reasonable to say, the things that we're saying, especially when we're currently in an environment where, like, 4 times or so, 3 times in the last week, people are getting themselves unrecorded by pulling into a driveway to turn around, or accidentally knocking on the wrong door looking for their siblings, or getting into the wrong car accidentally. Like, we're in an environment where people have a lot of access to weapons, and they are very paranoid right now and very on edge. Everyone, you can feel, we talked about this on my stream last night, you can feel it. People are on edge. They're not, everyone, even people that are relatively mellow and stable, are still at a different level than they were 4 or 5 years ago. The general anxiety of everyone is much higher for obvious reasons. There are millions of reasons, but it doesn't matter what the reasons are so much as that's where we're at. And in certain places in America, there are a lot of weapons, more than people, and it's getting easier and easier for somebody to have an oopsie moment. And it's not about a guy or a girl walking into a crowded area. Sometimes it's what we were just talking about. Pull into a driveway, paranoid.
Yep.
Over.
That's it.
And that's it. So this is, there are certain things, even as I think it speaks volumes that somebody like Jeff and I, who normally don't agree on everything, are on the same page here. We're old gamers. We've been playing this shit for long. We played it all. Jeff voiced over a dude in a fucking war game, for God's sake. I mean, there is a certain, this is different. It's hitting different. You know it's different. It's kind of like when you were young, if you're an older millennial like us, and you were on the wild west of the fucking internet, and you saw a video that you definitely should not have seen. We've seen several.
I've seen a couple of them, and it's still, to this day, it's seared into my brain.
You don't unsee it. There is no unrecord for watching some of the stuff that's there. And when you're watching, even as a kid, you see it, and there's a voice in the back of your head that goes, nah,
yeah,
I probably shouldn't be seeing this right now. This is going to do something.
Yeah.
So just That's the thing. So we'll see how this pans out, see how the discussion around it. Honestly, it's a 70-30, people just excited about how good it looks, and 30%, and it might be a latent factor where over time people get past the wow factor of how good it looks and go, wait a minute, just like you were saying with AI, like it catches up to you 72 hours later, you're like, wait a minute, my job's in danger.
Wait a minute, my life could be in danger.
Yes, exactly. Changes things a little bit. Speaking of being in danger, well, it's being in danger of never making it to store shelves, but it's still somehow going, Mr. Black. Duke Nukem Forever can rest easy. Although it probably already was. And anyone that worked on that project, I salute you. Because that shit, that was bad. I'm sure it was a very long 13 years that project was going on. But they can rest easy now. You know why? Somebody's taken over for them. They've taken the banner. They've taken the mantle. They're bearing the cross, Mr. Black. Beyond Good and Evil 2 is now 15 years deep. And even though, relatively recently, we were talking about in the podcast, I mentioned this, during Ubisoft's mass layoffs that they just went through, like many other companies in the tech sector, they did make a point to say, don't worry, I know some of you are thinking about it, Beyond Good and Evil 2, still happening. Still out there, Mr. Black. Still being worked on. Still in development. Which a lot of people took to mean, oh, okay, well, that's good. The game is it's taken a long time, but it's in progress. It's fine. We've seen a CGI trailer for it a few years ago. Clearly, that means that in that time span, something has happened to get this going. It's good to hear that it's still happening. I've got some bad news. A job posting was found online, Mr. Black, that they are currently searching for a senior concept artist, specifically for Beyond Good and Evil 2. Now, I'm not a video game developer, but if I was a betting man, I'm not a betting man either, but if I was, normally one looks for a senior concept artist pretty early on in the design of a video game. Like, as in the beginning. God created light? It's that. God's the senior concept developer. Or concept artist. In the beginning, there was nothing. And then he said, light this bitch up! And it happened. That's where they're at. In the beginning. And so, unfortunately, despite the fact this shit's like 15 years deep, it might be another 15. So just buckle up for that bad boy. Don't get excited. If you were before, I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. But, hey, on the upside, by the time it releases, it might look as good as Unrecord. So, you can look forward to that. It's a possibility. I'm not guaranteeing it. It's a possibility, though. So to tack onto this, Mr. Black, I have a question for you. Do you think that there is a case to be made that sometimes too much time can be spent on a game? Like when a game is taking nearly or sometimes twice as long as the life cycle of a console that it was meant to be played on, for example, how often is that likely to actually ever pay off? We have some outlier examples like GTA. That takes a long time. Those games are 6 or 7 years in the kitchen being cooked. Minimum. Zelda, similar, 5, 6 years at a time. But those are outliers, Mr. Black. And when they come out, they're going to be certified bangers. There's no question marks hanging over the heads of those games. Beyond Good and Evil 2 by Ubisoft, several question marks. 15 years, add a few more. So do you think in general, not just including the obvious example of Beyond Good and Evil, do you think that maybe games need to let off on the gas a little bit and learn to use the brake occasionally? This ain't Mario Kart. You can press the brake. Do you think that maybe they should scope down a bit to keep the length of development on average shorter so that they don't run into situations like this where they feel like they have to redevelop the game 5 times in the span of an entire life cycle of one of their own developers?
Well, I mean, yes, but I think it all depends on what is classified as in development. Because, in development can mean a lot of things. It could mean, hey, we're just starting to write the game. We're just starting the concept art. We're just starting putting the team together. We're just starting ideas. So to think that they've been working on a game like legit for 15 years, I don't think that that's the case. I think like maybe it has been discussed, talked about, maybe even started development, stopped for a long time, came back. I mean, look at Avatar, right? Avatar 2 was in development for like 11 years, but like they weren't actually working on the Avatar for 11 years. They were waiting for technology to catch up so they could realize their vision. But it was still being produced, being worked on to some degree, and then put on the back burner for several years, and then coming back to it. And that's probably what's happening here. So, you know, I don't for a second think that these guys have been even working on this game for 5 years. I really don't.
Even though they put out a full, like, 3-minute long or whatever CGI trailer for it, you don't think they were a little deeper in than just talking about it in a boardroom?
They might have been. They might have been, but like, you know, a lot of this stuff too is done to tease people, to see interest. Sometimes they have full. They're like, yeah, we're gonna do this game. They get 30% in. They have something else that comes up. They put a complete halt on it. They go do this other project. Then they come back to it. Then they work on it a little bit more. It could be something like that, and probably it. COVID that hit, you know, a lot of company buyouts and all this other shit that goes on. Who knows? But what I will say for a game like Beyond Evil 2 and a lot of these other games like Duke Nukem Forever, and there's tons of other games that have been in development for a while that come out and they're just meh. All these games, they remind me of shit throwaway Netflix seasons of shows where it's like in-house, what do we have to work with? We have this thing Beyond Good. We can do number 2. Greenlight it. Go. Then something else comes up. Okay, stop. Go do this because that's not very important. I just feel like it's meh. And I think the majority of people don't really give a shit if the game is made in 3 years, 15 years, or 50 years. I think the outcome is going to be the same for games like this. With Rockstar, you know what you're getting. With Blizzard, you know what you're getting. It's just the way it is. So, you know, I don't know if I answer your question or not, but
oh no, you did. I think it's
you know,
I agree with pretty much everything you said there. I don't think it's been in development in the sense that there have been people, you know, programming or putting scenes together in level design for 15 years. You know, Duke Nukem Forever is a special thing because it did go through like 3 different graphics engines. They literally restarted that game like fucking 3 or 4 times. And so, you know, that was a bit of a special case. Do I think it's that? No. Do I think they actually got a fair way in?
Probably.
And then had to press the reset button in the last generation moving to this one? That is what I do think it is. I think they're looking for concept artists and stuff because they did do a CGI thing. You don't spend money to do CGI unless you've got something to put it against, because CGI, this is not like Elder Scrolls 6 where they put the JPEG up on the screen and they fucking zoomed in on it for 45 seconds and everyone was like, ah! Yeah! It was like that. It wasn't that. They didn't get away with that, right? They had to try a little harder. So they spent some money on CGI. So I think they probably did. Like they were moving into something like that, maybe an engine change at one point. But now I think they're looking at, I swear to God, they probably got like part way in. It wasn't like hitting all the right notes. There's been some organizational restructuring, as we know, around Ubisoft and COVID and whatnot that's happened. And I think they looked at it and said, we can go ahead with this, but I think we all know it's probably going to be, it's going to come out looking too old, playing too old. It's not going to be it. And we don't want to do that. So run some numbers. Doesn't make sense for us to just do this reset, get an honest to God team on it, and put it in Unreal Engine 5. And that's probably what's happening right now with the new senior concept artist. And so we'll have to wait and see. just how much longer this bitch comes out, before this bitch is out. But I feel like it's unfortunately, like it was never going to be a 30 million copy game. Like that was never going to happen. So I feel like the shitty thing about this is that how do you fucking even make money off of it at this point? Because you've like 15 years, whether you're like halfway in or not, you've spent some dollars on this shit. A lot of time from a lot of employees. And so it's going to get more and more difficult to do. It's kind of similar to like when they did Psychonauts 2 more recently. And that was like a cult classic game on the Psychonauts on the Xbox. Didn't sell very well back then, but then like some movies that got to Netflix and all of a sudden people found it were like, fuck me! That's a good-ass movie! Why didn't I fucking know about this movie sooner? That was Psychonauts, and they made a second one because of that. Beyond Good and Evil 2 is kind of approaching that territory, but fuck me, man, 15 years. God help you guys over there at Ubisoft. Fucking hell. And that's it. Mr. Black, it's time to sell out.
Patreon.com/lagtv. Head on over there. Throw money at the screen, even if it is $1. Make it happen. If you can't afford that or you just don't want to do it, it's okay. It's all right. Grab NordVPN instead. NORDVPN.com/OTT. Head on over there. Get yourself a 2-year subscription. Get a massive discount, plus 4 bonus months when you use that promo code OTT. 30-day money-back guarantee. You don't like the service for whatever reason, get all your money back within 30 days, no questions asked. Plus, keep yourself safe. Keep yourself anonymous. If you're planning on reselling a whole bunch of Nintendo stuff and you don't want to get caught, don't use my promo code because I don't want to have anything to do with illegal activities. But if you do want to hide your IP from internet thieves or people around you publicly, get yourself NordVPN. You can use it on your phone. You can use it on your TV. You can use it on your PC, your Mac, your laptop, your iPad. They got an app for everything. Guys, it's super easy to use. I got it on my phone. I use my shit all the time. Sometimes I want to watch something on American Netflix. You know what I do? I pretend I'm in the United States of America. I mask my IP at the click of a button. Boom. Suddenly I can watch Breaking Bad. It's great. It's awesome. And more importantly, guys, they're out there to steal your information, your credit card information, to get to gather info on you.
I hear the TikToks are coming for us.
You hear that TikTok was taking your identity and taking your info? Did you hear about that? See what Congress was doing? Bet you them motherfuckers didn't have NordVPN. Don't have to worry about any of that.
They don't know what NordVPN is. They don't even know what Wi-Fi is. Let's be real. That's bad.
Yeah, let's be real. Let's be real. What I'm trying to say, guys, is get yourself NordVPN. Keep safe. Support us. Support yourself and the sponsor. And it's less than a cup of coffee a month. It really is affordable. This isn't something that's costing you $19.99. It's not costing you $5.99. It's not costing you $4.99. Depending on your currency, it's like $3 to stay safe, to have more options on the internet, to watch region block content, and to support us. Head on over there, check them out. Link is in the description below. NORDVPN.com/OTT.
And now it's time for
movies and TV.
Did we thank Stefan for his super chat earlier?
I didn't.
Well, thank you, Stefan.
Stefan. It's a 50 DKK. I don't know what that is. I don't know what currency that is. I don't know how much that equates to.
But
thank
Swedish?
You. I don't know. But thank you for that super chat, Stefan.
It's not German?
I'm going to look it up. DKK.
I've never seen DKK as a thing.
Currency. It is Danish krone.
Danish krone. I was thinking krone, but I thought Sweden, which means now he hates me.
Might.
I fucked up.
But yes, thank you. We got it.
I fucked up. Bless.
I appreciate that. I just did the conversion. Yes, it's about $10 Canadian. Look at that. We had 2 of those today.
Woo!
Thank you. It is appreciated.
Bless. Mr. Black, we might not agree with him, but you gotta respect the list anyway, because after all, it is his own friggin' list. Nicolas Cage was asked what his top 5 Nicolas Cage movies are. His response? Here we go. Pig, very recent. Mandy, Bring Out the Dead, Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans, and Joe. Really big fan of one-syllable fucking movies that he's or one-name movies. Pig, Mandy, Joe. I don't even know what Joe is. I'm going to be honest. I have no clue what Joe is.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's a pretty old movie.
I knew it would be an older one. I don't think I've ever heard of it, which is shocking. I would have thought I would have saw it come up at some point in my life. But Mr. Black, how do you think about that list? Do you think it's missing something that you would have personally put in there instead?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, pretty much none of these movies. I didn't see Pig. I did see Mandy.
Mm-hmm.
Bring Out the Dead. I don't even recall that movie. Let me see here. Bring Out the Dead. I've never seen Bring Out the Dead. It's from 1999. So
he did give a special shout out to Face Off, because a lot of people would have mentioned Face Off in his list.
Yeah. I mean, hey, listen, it's his it's his personal list. I mean, he might, and you never know, he might not even be saying it from like what's his favorite movie, but it might be his favorite experience filming the movie, being part of it. I don't know. I would say my top 3 Nicolas Cage movies are Gone in 60 Seconds, National Treasure, and Face Off. Probably Con Air. Con Air is number 1. How can I forget about Con Air? How does he not have Con Air on there? Con Air is number 1. Then I would go with Face Off. Then I would go with Gone in 60 Seconds. It's probably it. And you know, the new movie, The Massive Talent, I mean, that shit's a meme, bro. That's gotta be like number 5. It's gotta be like number 5. Like I can't put it in the top 3 because it's a bit of a meme.
It's definitely 5.
It's a top 5. It's gotta be a top 5.
In no particular order, you know, Gone in 60 Seconds, Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent is definitely on there. I really liked Lord of War, was a good one that he did. I think Face Off has to be there legally. I think it'd be illegal otherwise to not have it. And yeah, I mean, as much of a not, you know, cinema movie as it is, it's pretty fun to watch the National Treasure line of movies. They did a really good job with those. They're a fun watch. I did see Pig. Pig was really fucking good. There's a good chance if I thought about it long enough, I'd shift that shit up there into the top 5. I thought it was very, 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 very well done, indeed, and showcased maybe what some might consider older Nicolas Cage, who did movies that weren't just, you know, like crazy Nicolas Cage. He's a bit crazy in it, but it's not like the stereotype Nick Cage, which was nice to see. And it'll be fun to see how Renfield does. I haven't looked at how it's been doing in the theaters thus far, but everyone in my community that's seen it and brought it up, or I've seen on Twitter, everyone's like, yeah, it was pretty fun. Because it plays directly into the crazy Nick Cage kind of sensibilities. And so yeah, apparently that's not too bad either. But yeah, that'd be mine. But very interesting picks in there, for sure. Especially something like Bad Lieutenant. I would have never in a million years thought that was on that list. Something he did bring up in his response that I thought was kind of funny when he was mentioning some, you know, other fun roles that he's done that he would maybe include as like a special mention. there was a thing very early in his career, and I don't even think I can't remember if he remembered even what the name of the movie was anymore, or he did, and he said I don't even know if I can't even remember the whole movie, but what I do remember is that I didn't get paid for it, but what they did was they allowed me contractually for my character, which was like a small part, it wasn't a lot for this character, to do whatever I wanted with the character. They gave me the name of the character and loose like description to whatever was supposed to, and that was it. Contractually, whatever I wanted to do with the character was in my court. And so, of course, being Nicolas Cage, he read the script, had a pretty good idea of what he wanted to do with it, and so he decided that this character's motivation was, unfortunately, he had a very long, pointy nose, and he was having a hard time getting women. And so he had his rich father buy him a Ferrari Testarossa, and that was his entire character. So he got a giant prosthetic pointy nose, and then drove up into the onto the lot that day to shoot, driving a Ferrari Testarossa, and put that to the film. That was it. They had no choice on contract. They had to do it. That was the character. And he said at the time, he said everyone on set fucking hated me for it, but they couldn't do anything about it. Here I was, pointy nose in a Ferrari Testarossa, and that was it. So that was pretty funny. It was a very Nicolas Cage thing. Even early on, this man was clearly a unique individual from the start. That didn't just come up out of nowhere, to say the least. So, anyway, there you have it. And now I have a reason to maybe watch some of these movies, like especially Joe. I might have to go and watch Joe and see what all the hype is about since he decided to put it on his list. Probably one of the bigger pieces of news is the possibility, it's not guaranteed because the date hasn't arrived yet, but it is only, less than 2 weeks away now. The WGA members have voted 97.85% in favor of a strike. That's the Writers Guild of America, for those at home. Starting May 1st, which is when their contract ends, current one, if their new contract demands are not met. The main gripe is that the writers have been paid per episode. This is mostly a TV side of thing. I didn't see a lot of notes about the movie side. There might be more movie aspects to it. The stuff I read seemed to center more around the concept of compensation around series than movies specifically. The main gripe apparently is that writers have been paid mostly per episode for a long time, which was a good model when shows were 22 episodes pretty much as a standard per season, and not the more common 6 to 13 episodes that we have today. For example, something like on top of this, a lot of these more high-profile shows, like for example House of Dragons, the production can take a really long time, and so you have a really long commitment, but you're getting paid per episode, and the episodes are half as much or less than what used to be the standard pay. So you've got writers tied up for longer, getting paid technically less because of how shows are being shot and handled today versus before, where most of this contractual stuff was based on for a long time. And so those are the two major gripes that I saw, was like the length of time and the number of episodes. And so they're looking to change the structure of how writers are paid. There was also a bit in there about how Hollywood seems to be abusing this current contract, in which they can simply file several writers into a room and just have them crank out some shit in the span of a couple hours and go away, so that they can minimize pay across these limited episodes and whatnot. There's some loopholes that they're trying to close up in regards to the writing in these situations. And while a strike hasn't happened since the one in 2007, and Mr. Black probably would have remembered that happening back then, that hurt the industry quite a bit at the time. That was a nasty one, 2007. It actually was kind of the dawn of a lot of off-the-cuff content, because you didn't need writers. So there was a lot of just unscripted stuff going on around at the time for that very reason. It wasn't because suddenly everyone wanted to. It was suddenly, if you wanted to make money, you were going to do some unscripted shit. That's just kind of how it went down. And so something very similar could happen like that if they don't end up coming to an agreement here in the next 11 or so days as of this recording. And for example, The Last of Us, which is a pretty popular show for their first season, they haven't penned their second season yet. That's not done. And we know that one. What we don't know, as another big heavy hitter, it's unclear as to whether the final season or the finale season of Stranger Things, which I think is season 5, we don't know if that's actually been done getting written either. So there are some pretty big money, big shows that are hanging in limbo here for their writing rooms if this doesn't get wrapped up by May 1st. And so the solution, as I said, is proposed to apparently help change how compensation occurs in the more modern environment in which writers are operating now, which, in my opinion, seems relatively fair. I mean, what they have written out here doesn't seem like they're coming for anyone's throats. It's true. Anyone with eyes can see that the structure of series have changed pretty dramatically over time. And more specifically, in the more modern back half of streaming services, they're more prolific. Everyone's doing their own series and stuff on their own platforms now, and they all follow similar structures. And many of them are big $500 million, $200 million, $100 million series that take a long time to produce. So I could see why these would all be concerns and something that could probably pretty easily be abused by the industry. So Mr. Black, as somebody who is deeply ingrained and has all of this right into the main vein, what are your thoughts on the possible WGA strike? Do you think that this is a reasonable thing for them? And do you think they will successfully lock their demands down? Or do you think it's going to be a little bit more difficult?
No, I think it's a reasonable strike. They're overworked and underpaid. And I find the whole Netflix streaming service industry and the way things are being made is still using your traditional Hollywood type way of paying people, and it just doesn't work in this new format, and they need to adapt for this generation's media. And it seems like, you know, the writers are going to go on strike if they aren't being paid accordingly. So yeah, I'm not against it. Do I think the strike is going to happen? No, I don't. I think they're going to solve this before that date happens, because the movie industry or the TV industry as a whole can't afford this right now. Just got out of COVID like a year ago, less than a year, where things kind of are back to normal, and we need to get back. They can't afford to stay idle again for another. Yeah, the last time they went on strike, man, it fucked the movie industry up pretty fucking good. I mean, I remember the most famous one for that was like Quantum of Solace, the 007 movie, where Daniel Craig was like, we were literally writing scenes as we're filming. So like they would go on set not knowing exactly what to do, and they're sitting there writing shit on the fly and recording it.
Pretty dope movie anyway. They pulled that shit fucking off.
They pulled off a movie in a watchable movie that was, you know, some people didn't like, some people liked. For
could have been a lot worse.
It could have been a hell of a lot worse. But yeah, we just don't want to go. They're not going to want to go through that again. It doesn't seem like their demands are anything astronomical. And I think that they actually have leverage now. I think that this is a good time to do it. So we'll see. Maybe we'll talk about this again next month, or maybe it just won't happen.
Yeah, we'll know, because it's the 1st of May, not too far away, so it won't take too long for us to find out what the solution is to this. But clearly, I mean, my God, 97, almost 98%. That shit is unanimous with a capital U. Shit is crazy. That's a very high, which is similar as actually, I think, just a shade less than back in 2007. I think 2007, I'm either reversing it. This is either like a % higher or % lower. Very similar circumstances. And I agree. I think that their leverage is the timing. Yeah. It's the coming out of the pandemic and everything. That gives them enormous amounts of leverage. Last up, Mr. Black, I can't believe it isn't a joke. This will be pretty quick, but I had to put this in here. But apparently Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson may somehow, against all odds, legitimately be brothers. I don't know if you've seen this.
I did not see it, no.
Okay, so Matthew McConaughey brought this up first. So Matthew McConaughey was talking to his mother. Ma McConaughey is what he calls her. And she admitted we don't know, the context for this, but she admitted that she knows or knew Woody's father, and he said the way that she said that had a lot of innuendo hanging off the end of it. And the birth period of I can't remember which one, of Matthew, I believe it was, specifically, was during it would make sense, it had to be Matthew, was during the 9-month hiatus she and his actual, who he thought was his, possibly could still be, for all we know, but his father, who he knows to be his father, they were on hiatus during the period in which Matthew was born, and within a 9-month window of the very heavily implied innuendo between his mother and Woody's father. After discussing that or finding out about that, he talked a little bit about it, and then Woody brought it up and talked a little bit more about it. I think it was on Conan O'Brien's show, if I'm not mistaken. And he was asking him a bit more about that and how Matt, felt about it and how the guys were talking. Because clearly they've talked about it now. They're pretty close to begin with. That's what makes this so fucking crazy and kind of funny. And he said, well, they've been talking about maybe doing a DNA test to confirm whether or not it's legitimately a thing. But he said that Matt's taking it kind of hard because he really loved his father and
I know, I'm reading his book right now.
And
he's a big fan of his dad.
So this would possibly shatter his fucking world a bit. And Woody said he's been trying to say to him, it's not, you're not losing your father. Your father was still your father. It just so happens that this might have been some crazy fucking insane shit, but look at it this way, you're gaining a brother, is what he told him. And so, if this was really, I swear to fucking God, that you couldn't make this shit up.
That'd be nuts. What a coincidence.
The fact that they're in True Detective together, they fucking killed it. It would explain why possibly they play off each other so fucking well. They just did a series that's coming out that's called Brother from Another Mother. I can't fucking make this shit up. It's already done. It's coming out, and it's based on their actual real life relationship. So if they find out that they really are related, I will fucking lose my mind. That shit would be absolutely crazy. Now, it is doubly disappointing, perhaps, because if you know anything about Woody Harrelson's father, you know that maybe not everyone wants to be the son of Woody Harrelson's father because, well, he was a hitman. A very well-known, federally hunted hitman. And so, for Mr. McConaughey, who went from having this certain father figure that, as Jeff said, he's reading his book, very much looked up to his father, to, oops, your father was actually a hitman. He's a very sentimental guy, as you would probably read in his book. You can tell. He's incredibly sentimental. And so that would probably be a hard one for him to process. Not that I think he's going to be upset about being related to Woody. They obviously are very good friends. Like Woody and Matt are clearly very good friends and have been for a long time. But that would be a very an interesting thing. So we'll have to wait and see if they go through with the DNA thing. It's entirely possible that they just decide to live and let live, and because it doesn't change anything.
Oh.
They're both good friends. If they were brothers, wouldn't change anything. If they weren't brothers, wouldn't change anything. But it might be a case of either live and let live, or this is going to pick away at my fucking brain until the day I die, and I need to see this shit on paper as to whether or not it actually is, and we'll just have to wait and see and respect their decision either way. But just a crazy Hollywood thing I thought I would throw out there, just coincidence and just be insane for that if it was in fact true. And that's all I got, unless you got something else for movies and TV, Mr. Black.
That's it.
All right, that means it's time to move on to
tech support.
All right, let me pull this up here. So we got a pretty short list, so I'll save a couple for our StarCraft cast, and we'll get a couple in here. What do we have here? Logan asks, what's the weirdest internet rabbit hole that you've ever found yourself falling down?
The weirdest one.
YouTube can take you down some crazy
I've gone down some fucking rabbit holes. I'll tell you that. I've gone down some fucking rabbit holes.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, there's a few. So I'm trying to think of what's the craziest rabbit hole I've been down. I think, man, honestly, like one of them is probably the Scientology rabbit hole. That seemed to happen on YouTube to me more than one time, where YouTube funneled me into like some crazy Scientology shit.
That shit's crazy.
And that shit is crazy.
That's
it don't get a lot crazier. Like that's up there towards the top. And beyond that, probably like the section, it's much bigger now, but when it happened to me and I fell in the rabbit hole, it wasn't the same. I think the pandemic really blew this genre up on YouTube. But the genre of like kitchen vlogger people that are just like they go through like they're just their day in the life. They're not like walking around. They're like, for some reason, these people have money already, so they have like a fucking like Sony fucking camera that's like 18K, like HDR, and they're just like silently fucking like filming their like walk around their town, and then they're like filming themselves. They've got like shotgun microphones to pick up the food cooking sound perfectly. Like this is like some Food Network level fucking production. Like that area of YouTube. That was definitely one. Weird in that at the time, it wasn't really a thing that was like what it is now. But tangentially related to that, there is a YouTube channel that I think still exists where it's just a guy, again, with an incredibly expensive camera that goes around to various cities in the world, spend a lot of his time starting, because I think he's from the region, in Asia to start, so Japan, China, Korea, walking around the major cities. And that's it, just walking around, but not necessarily just in the ones that places everyone knows, but like back alleys and like smaller districts and things like that. No voice, no nothing, just ambient. And like, you know, maybe blur out faces or whatever if, later on, and then just walking around in 4K, glorious fucking pixel quality. And that's the show. Which, by the way, is pretty relaxing. Toss that bitch off onto the side. It's kind of a weird thing. Found myself, but that's a pretty good one. So I would say weird but entertaining. Scientology, just all weird. Just 100% weird.
Yeah. I've gone down the pyramid rabbit hole several times.
Oh.
So
that one keeps we new shit all the time for that one, Mr. Black.
Yeah, I would say like once every 2 years or so, I just get the urge. And I just, once I start listening to it and watching it, I just keep going. And then I'll watch these weird documentaries and stuff of these people that are like legitimately fucking batshit crazy. And you know, they're like, it's same with the UFOs and different things. Like I've gone down
the aliens
those
guy.
rabbit holes. Oh yeah,
Classic.
the aliens guy. I've gone down them rabbit holes pretty fucking deep, like paranormal rabbit holes, alien rabbit holes, pyramid.
I get bad on paranormal every once in a while.
Yeah.
I'll watch like the shitty fucking like TLC shows and shit that they did, or the
boom, next thing you know it, you're watching fucking everything on YouTube, and then I'm watching these shows of these like ghost hunters, and you know, it's I've gone down them rabbit holes before, and you know, yeah. So I would say those ones are the ones that catch my attention. It's and there are those things that, like, if I see it on my suggestion list or something and I click on a video, 3 hours have gone by. It's fucking 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm going, what the fuck am I doing? What am I doing? I'm gone. Like it just takes one. It just takes one, and I'm gone. So
and this was like the doom scrolling before doom scrolling existed. Yeah. Or before TikTok or YouTube Shorts or whatever, the thing that you would do and then look at the clock and it's like next Tuesday is rabbit holes on YouTube. And just like fucking, you don't know how you got there. All of a sudden you're watching it, like some person building a cottage in the middle of fucking Russia, and they're like lived in cabin 4 years by self. Somehow had access to camera and uploaded this on the one time I went back to town. Like the shit that you find online is just nuts. And you get down these crazy holes. And just like going to a strip club, sometimes the holes you're not supposed to go down. Last one before we move on to that one just hit Jeff a little late. There's a little latent on that one. Caught up a little bit. Xenon asks, have you ever grown food from scratch? What would be your go-to veg to have for free?
No. My go-to veg to have for free?
Yeah.
I would say avocado.
That's expensive, so yeah, it's a good one. It's a
That's
good
why.
one. Dude, like the worst thing about avocados, and this just happened to us this week,
It goes
is when
bad
I
so
buy
quick.
avocados, like I do them in bags or whatever, and I will specifically look for ones that look like they're in stages of ripeness. It's kind of like when you buy bananas. You don't want to buy them when they're all the same shade,
Nah.
because they're all ripened simultaneously. You're fucked. So I'll look for it, and this week I did that, and I found it. I was like, oh, fucking good bag. You know, sometimes you have to look forever to find one. Got it home. They all ripened fucking simultaneously. And I found myself eating a whole ass avocado at a time. My fucking body was going, what are you doing? This is so much fat. I know it's supposed to be healthy, but that's still fat. You gotta fucking slow down. And so I was just crushing avocado. We had to freeze 2 of them to use later, because just like, bro, all at the same time. I have... Personally, for when I was younger, we did for a time have, this was before Jeff was on the street, we had a couple of garden when you're facing the house, Jeff, on the right hand side of the house. We had a couple of boxed in areas to grow food in the spring and summer. So just some vegetables, because Mom was missing farm food or whatever. Because if you've ever had, if you go to a farmer's market, you might want to tell yourself that what you're buying at the grocery store in North America, because in Europe, this shit's fucking different anyway. But here, you buy like a bag of carrots or some shit. There is a stark difference between the bag carrots you just bought at the grocery store and the ones that you just got at a farmer's market. You can't convince me otherwise. The taste and the texture is fucking wildly different. So she was missing that shit. So we grew for a time. We grew lettuce, tomatoes, zucchini, and... I think we did carrots for a short time, because those are all pretty easy to grow in our climate. The zucchinis went fucking crazy. That shit loved our climate for whatever reason. We had zucchinis coming out our fucking ears. I never ate so much zucchini in my life. But we did that for a few years, and then just Mom was like, nah, fuck that. Not worth it. I just want to do something else. So we did, and if I had a free vegetable for life, man... It's hard to say anything other than avocado, because they're just so fucking expensive.
They're just expensive, man. You got to go with avocado, and then you could even sell some. Leave a little side
avocado empire. You know what's crazy? Like the cartel in Mexico, like the avocados are up there with fucking drugs, bro.
I believe it.
They run the show. Shit's crazy. So when you
buy those over some avocados,
when you see those Mexican avocados, you look at that and you go, "Thank you." Appreciate it. And I guess since we only got 5 for this week, I guess we should probably leave it there, Mr. Black. I know another one just rolled in. Let's just make sure if this is... Oh, you know what? Nope. That one that just came in is perfect for StarCraft. It's a StarCraft question. So we'll leave it at that, Mr. Black. We'll leave it there. We're going to go on and do StarCraft now. And so, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us here on YouTube Live. Hopefully you enjoyed yourself. If you're on the RSS feeds, bless you. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, all that nonsense. Where's my mouse cursor? I found it. There it is. We'll see you guys next week. And until we do, have a good week. Stay safe out there. And be careful with your avocados. That shit's expensive. Don't fuck it up. Peace.
Hey.